Hey everybody, oh, hold on. Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed the courtesy. Sorry, I'm still too tall. Welcome to episode 8 of RestorationZ, where we are taking my 2007 Suzuki DRZ400SM and we're basically restoring it with a few upgrades when we build it back up. If you haven't been watching this series, go and check out the playlist, maybe watch from the beginning so you can be up to date as to what's been going on. If you saw the last episode, you'll know we were cleaning up some parts, and there is more cleaning to do in this episode on the frame, on the swing arm. I've also got some stuck fasteners in the swing arm, which, thanks to a Patreon supporter of mine, I have a tool that should hopefully help with that. But also, I've made an awful lot of decisions now, and I've also ordered some parts, and I'll tell you all about that in just a minute. I must also give a thanks to Autodoc, who are sponsoring a part of this video, but I'll tell you more about that later on. Okay, so if you've been watching this series, you know where we're at. You know I've been all over the place trying to decide what am I going to do with this frame. Powder coating's an option, but it's expensive. It's also tricky with it being a dry sump because it's got an oil chamber in it. It also is tricky getting the parts to the person and blah, 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 blah. So not the best option. I was going to consider spraying it myself, and I was going to use either rattle cans or a 2-pack. Well, I spent some time last night talking to one of my Patreon supporters who happens to be, well, I'm either he's professional or he knows a lot about painting, and he let me know about some issues I was probably going to have using 2-pack, which I think I have to agree with him. Basically, if you have silicone or greases in the environment that you're painting in, particularly with the clear lacquers, you can get a thing called fish-eyeing, which is to do with imperfections on the surface, which is exactly the sort of thing I had happen with the Lexmoto tank that I painted, if you saw. They were only small, they were hardly noticeable, unless you were at just the right angle, but yeah, I think that might have explained what happened with that one. So, after all the discussions I had with it, we came to a conclusion, which was cocoon the garage in plastic, and spray paint it or rattle cans. Because they can produce a perfectly good finish. I am much more comfortable using rattle cans because of all the metalwork stuff I've done. You know, I've gone to sort of artistic levels of using that sort of spray paint. When I say artistic, I mean as in I've done paint effects. It's not just simple coats. So I'm quite experienced using spray cans. I know I can get a good finish on it. So yes, I'm going to be respraying this frame myself using rattle cans, and I don't see a problem with that. It should produce a nice result. I have trust in myself that I can do that. Also, to be completely honest with you, the only parts of these frames that are ever seen when the bike's back together is this part here, maybe that bit under there and a little bit on the front. The rest of it, you can't even see it. So I'd have to be really bad at spraying to not do a good enough job for this one. I can't remember if I've mentioned this or not, but I've considered changing the colour of this frame, and I've decided I am actually going to do it. And the colour I'm going to spray it will be white. Some of you might be now saying, you're completely crazy. I own a white XJ6. I know the downsides of owning a white bike, but I just think this would look so good with a white frame. And to be honest with you, that's probably the best thing to do for the video series, because obviously that's the most accessible thing to everyone watching. Not everyone has a compressor and wants to mess around with what are quite dangerous to use 2-pack sprays when you can just rattle can stuff. So that's the direction we're going with that. I've also, thanks to the support of the patrons who watch these videos and some people who helped me through PayPal, one particular person in mind with that one, who's basically helped me have a bit of a budget to buy some extra bits. Some of the service bits and some of those bits and pieces that I think I'm managing to get by working with some companies that I've worked with before, which is obviously a great win-win situation. But there's a few parts that it's just easier to just buy them, and I've bought a lot of those things. And I've bought some engine case savers, some fork bleeders. These are things I've wanted to get for a while. I'm going to have to get some new grips. There's a few other bits and pieces. There's miscellaneous tools and greases and things that I need to get. So that's all on its way, and when everything arrives, I'll do a video sort of showing all that stuff that I've got before we put it all on the bike. I think that's probably the most interesting way of doing it. I still need to get the paint, but I think I can do a click and collect thing on that, which means I can go for a ride. Christ. Don't worry, I'm nearly done with the talking. There's two other things to show you. In the previous episode, I showed you these are Lust Racing links, and I said, oh, I need to know, how big these are, whether they're lowering or jacking the bike up. These are adding an inch to the seat height. So the seat height on this bike with these on is about 910 millimeters. Which is fantastic, because I'm 6'4", so it's the proper size. So I am keeping them. As you can see, I cleaned all the paint off with a powder coat because it was just peeling off and starting to rust. These are going to get sprayed, as are the engine mounts and some other miscellaneous bits and pieces, but I've bought enough paint to be able to do that. The other thing is, from down here, you have the oil line that comes out of the bike, and I thought this was a handy tip maybe. This was rusted and horrible. And I basically clamped a nut and bolt through it, which allowed me to use a wire wheel and stuff and not get any crud inside. So, anyway, well, I'm going to leave it on there, to be honest, because it's going to stop crud getting in it in the box. But yeah, that's a little tip maybe. Maybe other people have always done it that way, but it helped me. I think I actually want to use this paddock stand for the next job, so I'm just going to take the bike off of it. Okay, so this is the tool I was sent, and I must apologise. In the previous episode, I said that it was Jack that sent this to me. It wasn't. It was James. James, thank you, and I'm sorry I misremembered your name. But also, it was Jack who was the one that helped me with the paint advice, so thank you to both of you. Anyway, this is an impact driver. The way that these work is basically they have a cam in them, and you set it to undo or do up. Well, it's left hand or right hand thread. You wouldn't be using this to do something up. But when you hit the back of it, it causes this to rotate. So what you do if you have a stuck screw or fastener is you put that really well, you make sure it fits the best you can in that screw head, and you give it an almighty whack on the top of there with a hammer. And you want to try and get it in one hit, because the harder you hit it, the better the screw is going to dig into the screw head, and the harder the whack it's going to get. And hopefully, it will break the fastener loose. Well, we will see. This is just a Phillips head screw that goes into the swing arm. I've tried to undo this, and the head started to munch, and I was like, no, don't keep something on there to use in the future. And I was considering buying one of these, and then this guy said, here you go. So it was very kind of him. If this works, James, I absolutely love you. And if it doesn't, well, I still love you. Do it for me. Don't hit your hand. Get it right first time. We're in there. We're solid. Did that turn? Oh! James, I love you. Oh my God. It came out. James, thank you so much. The other cool thing about this is not only can you change the different ends you've got in it, but also this is a socket. So you can put sockets on there too. So basically, if you don't have an impact drive and you need to get a stuck thing undone, this could save your butt many times over. I used to use one of these occasionally when I did the work on the boat work stuff I did. But man, oh my God, it's one of those tools that you never buy. You should. You really should. See, one of the other things that it does is when you hit down on it, it actually it doesn't stretch the threads, but it can break the corrosion that's keeping it bound together. Honestly, I feel like such a fool not getting one of these till now. And we have got the chain guard, well, chain rubbing guard, and it's done. I'm going to have to get a new one of those. I should really take the rear wheel off before I clean this all up, but I just want to get the worst off of here because it's so bad. I mean, at least this will probably clean up the metalwork quite nicely, because this is a mixture of sand and oil, so it's just like a rubbing compound. Not really. And that's cleaning up quite nicely, but there is a lot of grit in this, and I really don't want to rub that on the more polished part of the swing arm. So I think the best thing to do at this point would be to actually strip the swing arm entirely, and then get down to just that bare swing arm, and that'll be easier to clean it. I'm afraid that the Hoonigan stickers are going to go, because we want to clean up the whole thing. They're kind of iconic on this bike. They've been on for years, but they'll have to go for now. And as if by magic, the swing arm is apart. Actually, what I just did was a little mini update and a little mini build Q&A for my patrons. I'm going to do more of those in the future, so if you want to help out this build, if you want to be part of, you know, the little extra bits and pieces you get and see videos 3 days early, please consider joining my Patreon. Links in the description. Someone did say to me recently they were concerned about joining it because it was in dollars. It's only displayed in dollars. When you pay, it'll give you a conversion into pounds. And you can cap your spend, so you won't spend any more than that. So if you were concerned about the fact that they're in dollars and not pounds, it's just a public face thing on it. I can't actually switch it to pounds because they didn't have that option, I don't think, when I set up my Patreon, and now you can't change it because it already exists. I'd have to shut the Patreon down and restart up another one in pounds to have a pound. Anyway, I've got more things that I'm going to clean up. I'll do these bits off camera, you know. There's only so much of grease and dirt removal you guys want to see. Need to look into getting a new chain guide rubber thing, because that is... It's pretty much done. The swing arm is now completely free, other than these tie downs, which I may not need to remove. I'll see. So I can clean that up. I've removed the rear brake as one unit. I'm going to need to service this, get pads for it, clean it up. As you can see, it's got this corrosion all over it. So again, there's a load of work in that one. And also I need to clean up the rear wheel. Thankfully, the bearings all over this bike feel perfect. And yes, even I would advise people, if you're taking a bike apart this much, replace all the bearings. It's so easy to take apart that if I wasn't filming it, I can get to any bearing in a couple of hours. I'm not too worried about it because they're all absolutely fine. There's no corrosion, they're all free moving, there's no excess movement. You know, assessing bearings is something I've had to do in the boat work that I've done. And we say, if you know, normally we will replace them if you're taking something apart, but sometimes there's one that you just don't need to. It's just too new. It's a waste. The only thing I will be doing, though, is I'm going to be replacing the dust seals because they're a little bit mangled where the axles come in and out so many times. And obviously that will give us a better seal. So when I take that out, I'm going to clean this all out, put as much grease in there as I can, or should. New seals in it should, you know, keep it good for a long while. Okay, I'm just making sure I haven't forgotten any parts from the swing arm. Piece of exhaust. That was actually quite a momentous moment in the build, taking the swing arm, don't fall, apart. Because I realised that's one of the last big things on the bike that needs to be taken apart. Yeah, okay, I do need to take the forks off the frame, but that's the last big thing to come apart. There is only now a handful of individual pieces that need cleaning. Yes, I'm going to need to clean the frame, swing arm, clean up the engine a bit, rear wheel, that sort of stuff. But it won't be long now, hopefully, before we are starting to prep the frame. And then it will be painting and painting all the other little bits and pieces, and then it's going to be putting the bike back together and putting all the parts back on and the new parts that I've got. And talking about bike parts or car parts, if you're currently doing some work to your bike or car, or you've been inspired by this build series or someone else's series to do some maintenance to your car or bike, then consider checking out AutoDoc. It's a website from Europe, but they do work across 26 different countries. There's a link in the description if you want to check them out. They sell a huge, almost encyclopedic range of car and motorcycle parts. Prices are great. I believe their customer service is great as well. So if you're interested in some car or bike parts, then check out autodoc.co.uk. As I say, please do use the link that's in the description. I would appreciate that. And huge thanks to AutoDoc for sponsoring this section of the video and helping with the build in doing so. Right, now... yeah, let's clean up the swing arm, get a little bit organised, and get on with that frame, because it's going to be so satisfying. Okay, so the swing arm, it has some little covers on the ends. There should be two, right? Found it. Well, that was a worry for a minute. And then inside here... you have these little tubes which live inside here, and then there's roller bearings inside there. As you can see, these are very nice and clean. No problems with those at all. So I'm going to clean these up inside here and re-grease them. The seals, I think I might well replace those dust seals, because they do look a little bit worn. But otherwise, that's not going to be a problem. But I want to leave those in to protect the bearings until I'm doing that last bit. I think you can see what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to go over this and clean it up. Use the little Dremel to get in the little nooks and crannies and into all the welds. Again, this is this nylon brush. This is not a metal brush. Right, so have a look at it before. And in a minute, I'll show you the after. And I will remove these stickers. There's a sausage on here as well, I'm afraid, from the sausage meat. From the fest. But yeah, these are going to come off. Oh yeah, there's also the issue with this bolt that's bent and won't come out all the way. That means I can't use all the adjustment. I'll have to look at that. It's a risky one. Risk versus reward on that one is something I'm going to have to consider. Well, what an improvement. That took a while. As you can see, I've got one of the stickers off. I'm actually going to save doing the other one now to show you a little trick, which you may know already, but if not, it will help you out in the future. One good thing, I thought one of my adjuster bolts was bent and wasn't going to come out of the swing arm, but as it turns out, I don't think it's that bent. I think it's just really covered in crud. But that came out with loads of WD-40 and just using a socket, so that's good. So I'm going to replace those. These are vinyl cut stickers, like the ones that I sell, and when you try to get them off when they're cold, you'll end up just picking tiny little pieces like this. Don't waste your time. Get a hairdryer. Get it nice and hot, and then once you get an edge, you can peel the whole thing off in one go. But it really does need to be warm, so heat each sticker as you go. It takes a while, but once you've done that, you'll be left with this. I find, and make sure this is on something you can use this on, and make sure you're not near anything you don't want to use it on, but brake cleaner. Let that sit for a second, it'll break down the glue. Then a bit of WD-40. You can use WD-40 straight on that as well, but I just find the brake cleaner cuts through it quicker to start with. And there we go, one cleaned up swing arm looking absolutely great. All we need to do is replace the bushes in there, the seals that is, grease up the bearings and replace those, and otherwise that's all good to go back on the bike. Okay, I just need to remove a few more pieces off the frame so we can get to cleaning it. In reality, this is now day 2 of filming for this video. Up until now, most videos have been filmed in a single day because I've been able to get a lot done. But the past couple of days I've been doing quite a lot of other stuff. Plus everything just seems to be taking me a long time. You know, like cleaning everything up took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. Just removed the rear light brake switch, which is working fine, so that can go in the electronics box. The reason I moved that so I could get to this to get this linkage out of the way. I have now requested new chain rollers because, I mean, these are okay, but if I'm going to get a new chain rubber, I might as well get new rollers as well. It's amazing how well these spin. How is that free moving when this much crud's next to it? There's one. Sorry if you can't see, I'm just unhooking the springs. Or attempting to anyway. Side stands off, and that needs repainting as well, so I'll properly respray that one. I'll wire wheel it all down and redo it. Probably clean that foot up a little bit as well. That's going to go in the box of things to do. Undo these split pins. I have now received the box of split pins I've ordered, so I now have replacement pins for everything. That'll be yes then. Okay, I think we're now at a point that I can get to cleaning this, so this needs to go outside, because as you can see, like, this is the thickest caked on crud. Okay, well, as you can see, this is really manky, so I've moved just outside the garage. I've got some truck wash, and I'm just going to spray this on and let it spray this on. Oh, come on. It's only this bottom half of the frame that I'm really worried about getting with this, because it's so grim. Okay, we've let that sit for a few minutes, and the hissing you can hear is our little household steam cleaner, which is just warming up. I'm just going to use it to try and blast off some of this horrible, sticky, gunky crap. I don't think I'd advise necessarily doing this on a bike you're not planning to repaint, because this is actually lifting some of the paint off where there's rust. Okay, well, I'm going to keep cleaning this up, but as you can see, this has highlighted how bad the rust issue actually is. There is a lot of rust going on in this part that I did not know about. You know, it's right down in nasty bits of the welds and stuff. So yeah, I'm going to keep cleaning and keep cleaning and keep cleaning until this is clean enough to, you know, handle it, so I can get the front end off and then we can, you know, go on with it. Okay, I wasn't planning to take the headstock off in this episode, but I am. This is going to be the last thing we're going to do, because from this point onwards, it's going to be a lot of cleaning up of this frame, as we now know, because of that rust. Alright, disconnected the speedo cable. Big up. There we go. I tell you what, either I'm getting stronger or this bike's getting lighter. I've loosened these off. This is undone. So in theory now, the top yoke should come off. Just spray some WD-40, hoping it'll get in there and, you know... Oh, I think that worked. Yeah, that worked. Obviously any dry corrosion, well not corrosion, so any dry dust and stuff is going to get softened and it's going to lubricate it, and then... Ta-da! Ta-da! Whoa! Then we can undo this top nut, which... Is this supposed to be hand tight? And then... These bearings are perfectly clean, perfectly greased, perfectly good condition, which is why they feel fine and why I'm not changing them. The frame! Well, you've just seen the bottom before I have. Oh! That's nasty. That's real nasty. The rust does extend throughout the bottom of it. So the worst rusting is actually around this central core part here. That's okay. It's not too greasy now. I actually didn't do too bad a job cleaning it up. So the next episode is going to be starting the prep work on the frame to get this painted, because as soon as that's painted we can start, you know, putting bits back on the bike and then go piece by piece as we put it on. So, wow. I didn't think I was going to achieve that today, but I have. Huge, huge, huge thanks to my Patreon supporters and the people that support me through PayPal. It's absolutely amazing that you can continue to do this throughout the difficult time we're in. But hopefully I'm keeping you entertained and it's allowing me to keep doing this. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new here. Maybe go back to the beginning of the series, and you know, if you want to watch through and see the whole transformation. I think it'll be quite cool once this is all done, that you could sit and watch the whole playlist and watch a bike being torn down bit by bit and then built back up, and all the problems and the fun along the way. I'm loving this. I'm absolutely loving it. Now the bike's apart, it's like, well, there's no, you know, I can't take it apart anymore. Apologies, my battery died in the middle of me talking. I think I was about there though. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to see future videos. This channel is made possible by the support of the audience. Please consider joining my Patreon to get early access to videos, questions answered in the monthly Q&A, your name on screen, and some exclusive content, all for as little as $1 a month. You can also check out the links in the description to my merch and other ways to directly support the channel. Thanks for watching.